The first question we need to ask is, how can we keep the Ottoman Empire out of the war? The Ottomans had been heavily courted by the Germans. German entrepreneurs heavily invested in the country, and the notable German generals like Helmuth von Moltke and Freiherr von der Goltz were brought in by the Turks to help reform their army. German-trained soldiers received rapid promotions, and a strong Germanophilic lobby formed in Constantinople. During the Great War, the Ottoman Empire was ruled by a triumvirate consisting of Grand Vizier Talat Pasha, General Enver Pasha, the Minister of the Interior, and General Kemal Pasha, the Minister of the Navy. The three Pashas came to power after a coup d'etat in 1913. Talat and Enver favored an alliance with Germany, while Kemal favored an alliance with France. For our purposes, let's say that Enver Pasha died, killed by a stray bullet in the Italo-Turkish War. The death of Enver Pasha would leave the Ottoman Empire controlled by a triumvirate. With Talat favoring Germany and Kemal favoring France, the twin rulers of the Ottoman Empire would be at an impasse and remain neutral in 1914, instead of joining the war on the side of the Central Powers. Ottoman neutrality would change two things about World War I. The most notable one being that the Dardanelles wouldn't be closed to Russian shipping. In our timeline, Ottoman participation meant that the only reliable method of sending goods to Russia was by land or through their Arctic ports. Secondly, over 3 million soldiers were tied up in the Middle Eastern theater, primarily from the British Empire, and these soldiers would be released for service on other fronts in Africa and Europe. The Ottoman Empire could use its years of peace to suppress independence movements, do business with the Entente and Central Powers, and build up its infrastructure while reforming its military. The war in Europe would be better for the Entente. Russia would probably hold out for a few months longer, but still fall to communism sometime in late 1917. Britain would have more soldiers to reinforce the French. Italy, Romania, and Greece all likely join the war for irredentist reasons. Bulgaria does as well. They're going to want to regain territories lost by them in the Second Balkan War. In our timeline, they sided with their hereditary enemies, the Ottoman Empire, in order to regain lost land. I see no reason why that would change. By 1918, I can see the Turks joining the war on the Entente side. Even with Russia's surrender, the entry of America into the war, the halting of the Central Powers on the Piave, and the failure of the German Spring Offensive would signal the end for Germany and their allies. They'd likely strike up a deal with the British, French, and Italians in exchange for territory at the expense of Bulgaria. The Ottomans would contribute soldiers to the Bulgarian campaign. The war would end in late 1918, perhaps 2 or 3 months earlier than it did in our timeline. The Ottoman Empire would emerge from the Great War significantly stronger than it did OTL. It would still control a vast territory comparable in size to Saudi Arabia or Mexico today, with a significantly larger economy and a population that didn't see over 2 million deaths. This includes butterflying away the Armenian genocide, since Enver Pasha isn't there to lead the Ottomans on the disastrous Caucasus campaign and lose the Battle of Sarikamish against Russia. On the downside, it means that Mustafa Kemal, Ismet, and Kakmak are going to take a lot longer to rise to power. They'll probably become generals in the 1920s and get involved in politics in the 1930s. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed that video, like, share, comment, and subscribe. Stay tuned for part 3, and have a nice day.